Hello everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Money as a Portal. So much energy and so much goodness is moving through. I'd love to hear from you and hear what is unraveling on your end. So if you feel guided, you can let me know below, or I posted a check-in thread. You can share there as well. So I want to just take a few breaths and allow us to land here. So as you're arriving, you can just notice how you're feeling today. Notice where your energy is. You can notice how you're feeling in your body. And I'm noticing a lot of sort of like knots, energetic knots. That's what it feels like. And I can feel one in the back of my throat, like in the neck, spine area. I can feel one in the back of my heart. And as I was arriving here, I noticed this was probably the most challenging call or live for me to arrive to. I had some clarity this morning of what was wanting to come through, and then as we were getting closer, I could feel my mind doing a thing, and these layers of anxiety and fear coming forward, and it feels like it's part of the group's energy and the collective energy. So I wanted to just name that. And I could also feel how these are all old layers and old patterns that we have around money, and offering something for money, or opening ourselves to receive money, even talking about it, right? And so I was really present to those layers coming forward as I was arriving here. So I might end up going a bit slower today, just to kind of check in and really be present to the truth of what's wanting to come through, versus stories or ego or whatever, right? So you may notice me kind of going at a little bit of a slower pace as I navigate just some of the muddiness and shakiness around the transmission that's wanting to come through today. So if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. I do invite you to go back and re-listen to the previous videos. Day 1, we began to explore money as a portal to your soul. So versus money being this thing outside of us, right? We began to look at it as a mirror for our relationship with our soul. And some of the breakthroughs that you are having around that are amazing. I also invite you to read each other's, because when we are seeing what's coming forward for someone else, sometimes it's for us too. So we might not be able to see it in ourselves, but when we can see someone else name it, then we can feel and reclaim the places where that's true for us as well. So we talked about that on day 1, and then yesterday we dove in and we did an exercise to reclaim your power around money. And, we looked at your inner child and how she's feeling about money, and maybe the responsibility she's been holding around money, or some of the fears. And yeah. So today I want to talk about creating a new relationship with money. And I'm feeling there's going to be, some energy transmissions through conversation. And then also I want to drop in and do some energy exercises. And again, what's coming through me feels kind of shaky. So just bear with me. Yeah, so where I want to begin is, as we look at this relationship with money, I also want to continue the thread of looking at it as our relationship with ourself, with our soul. When we are plugged into the deepest levels of our heart and soul, I truly believe not only do we have the wisdom that we need around bringing in money or abundance, or knowing what steps we need to take to align to it to bring it in, but also there's this deep safety and this deep trust of often it doesn't even matter as much anymore, right? So the number game dissolves because that's not really important anymore. The ego constructs of money sort of fall away, and instead it's like this, it's an exchange with life. We can begin to see it as the energy, the pure energy and the essence of what it can do for us and support us in, right? And so the old paradigm structures can fall away, loosen, dissolve, and instead it becomes this pure energy of exchanging with life, of being able to do things that are going to not only bring you pleasure, but also maybe fuel your soul so that you can share your soul's wisdom in a bigger way. And when I say that, like, yes, this could be in your business, but this could also be with your children, or with your husband, with your friends, with your family, with people at the grocery store. When we are seated in ourself, right, and we are showing up from that place of being seated in ourself, our energy vibrates to everyone around us, and it heals the people around us just by being. So even if that is being in line at the grocery store. And so money is one of the things that can help us. It can support us in our beingness. And for that to happen, we have to dissolve the illusions around it. We have to dissolve some of these push-pull patterns, the ickiness, the trying, the thinking that it's some type of outside authority that's going to save us or set us free. The truth is, you are the only one who can set you free. You're the only one. And the way that happens is by you turning towards your soul and learning to navigate from that place. Money can help you along the way. Other people can help you and support you along the way, but you are the only one who can do it. And so to shift our relationship with money to really take our seat as the creator, as the creatrix. And when we are chasing numbers, when we are you know, in this fear mode of needing to bring in money. So it's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to offer to be able to bring in money to do this other thing? We're giving our power away. And what I also want to say about that, you know, is sometimes, you know, we do have to take steps that may not be the long-term plan that we know our soul is guiding us towards. But we might have to take steps that can be stepping stones to support us in getting to that bigger picture. And, you know, the bigger picture isn't necessarily something out there, although yes, it can happen out there. Usually it's this embodiment of your vision or of your soul knowing. And so when we begin to look at, you know, our relationship with money as also being a direct correlation to our relationship with our soul, there's 3 different levels of that. And, you know, money can be a reflection for those different levels, layers. So that can be our energy, our personal energy, which, you know, when we're looking at our personal energy, that can be our thoughts, our emotions, maybe where we are taking on other people's energy, our wants, you know, our desires. Then there's the deeper relationship with ourself. So like actually that connection to our heart and our soul where, you know, these are like our longings. These are more of our core needs, like, you know, the things that we're really feeling or passionate about. So our relationship with money can, you know, reflect that to us, how connected we are to those places in ourselves. And, you know, I've worked with both people who are struggling to bring in money, and I've also worked with people who have, you know, successful 6-figure plus businesses. And, you know, sometimes even when people are at the 6 figures, they're burnout. Their relationships are not working, right? They're like on the edge of a divorce. They may even feel like something's missing in their work. They might find themselves working because, you know, they don't know what else to do with their time or their energy. So to me, that's not a soul-aligned existence, you know, when we're in that place, because yes, we have money, and like at the same time, there's this hollowness to it, right? And you know, the point of this is to awaken ourselves to where we can have the money and be in this deep relationship with it, this juicy relationship, this intimate relationship where it's like, not only does it serve us, but it's like, in a way, we're also wanting to show up for it. You know, and that's where, to me, you know, when we can see it as an exchange and a portal to our soul, right? It's like every time I offer something in my business, I know that me creating that offer is also an invitation for me to step closer to myself, to my soul. And so just as much as it is my offers or a portal for my clients, they're also a portal for me. And that is the place where life force meets me. Passion meets me. You know, I'm allowing life to flow through me. There's this intimacy to it. And I'm not saying that, you know, you have to do this, but this is what I found for myself. And when I'm willing to be intimate in that way with money, with life, like, it also does reflect in, you know, my relationship with my boyfriend, or even, you know, I've been working with an acupuncturist, and even my relationship with her, you know, the way that I'm able to receive support from other humans, whether it's my friends or practitioners, you know, there's a different level to it. And so I say yes to that. you know, to this way of being able to show up and be more of who I am in each moment, whether it's at the grocery store or it's on a client call, or, you know, if it's watching TV with my boyfriend and being able to be deeply present, you know, with both myself and with him and both of our needs. And so, whew, my neck is still doing a thing. Yeah, so, you know, it's a reflection of our energy, our relationship with ourself, our soul, how connected we are to ourself. And then also, you know, it's a reflection of how we're meeting the world, or how available we are to allow ourselves to be seen and to be met by the world. And so I had this client session this morning, and you know, I've been working with this client for almost 6 months, and she showed up and she was like, you know, I'm really feeling so good. Like, I feel like myself. And she has been doing such a beautiful job of, you know, opening and birthing herself and reclaiming these parts and pieces. And when she began to work with me, she had a lot of resistance and, you know, a lot of protections around her, and like those have totally dissolved. And so she's telling me, she said, you know, I feel so much myself that I could go to a party like of wealthy people, like if wealthy people were having a party, she said, I feel like I could go and I could wear rags and I would still feel totally comfortable just being myself. And you know, I got curious about that with her. And as we sort of looked at it a little bit closer, I said, you know, there's actually this way that, you know, you're okay being yourself by yourself, but when you're meeting the world, there's like this disconnect. And so we began to get closer, you know, because it's like the rags actually don't match the frequency of who she is. And, you know, I feel like we do this so often in our business, where we're creating offers that don't match the frequency of who we really are, you know. And so then when we attract clients that maybe aren't ready, or they're not a match, or, you know, whatever, or we don't attract clients, or maybe it's challenging clients, right? And it ends up taking a lot more energy than it could. You know, I get curious. I get curious about the protections, right? The protections that are keeping you from being able to meet the world as yourself. And another, you know, just kind of interesting thing this morning, I have been getting notifications from another Facebook group. And, you know, this was one of the groups that I was in when I started to grow my business, you know, bring it online, and it's up to like almost 10,000 people. And I clicked on it because the notifications have been coming up, and I went in the group and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad that I don't show up like that anymore, you know, in my business, because it was all of these like, you know, just boxy posts of, everybody just doing a thing because that's what they think they're supposed to be doing, and that's what they think the way is to make money. And, you know, some of them are making money. And at the same time, you know, what I could feel in my own system is like, I'm not willing to do that to make a certain amount of money, you know. And there was a time when I was willing, right? And, you know, now I'm at a place where I'm not. And so it just feels important to name some of those things. So I want to just take a breath here, kind of let this land however it's landing. And so when we begin to see, you know, money's a reflection of our relationship, you know, with ourself, with our soul. So, It's a reflection of our energy. It's a reflection of how connected we are to our own centers, right? Our heart, our passion, our desires, our turn on, our pleasure. It's also a connection to our ability to let our soul, our essence, meet the world and allow ourselves to be seen in that, seen and received. And so when we can begin to see this, the next step that I feel is really important is then we can actually begin to look at releasing some of these holding patterns that we have around money and these old masculine patriarchal woundings around money where we hold it, And so I invite you just to kind of maybe take a few breaths and notice the places in your own system. We looked at this a little bit yesterday, but again, notice, maybe where there's some anxiety or some holding around money. And again, this can be a couple different things. It could come up around like, well, I need to bring in money, and that can create an anxiety, this like feeling of like, I need to do a thing, I'm not safe, or maybe it's, I'm feeling burnout in my business. I know things aren't working. I need to make some changes. And then that can bring up a shit ton of fear around money, because we're holding it. It's like, yeah, but if I make a change and listen to myself, then money might not show up. And that is like fucking scary. Or, I know that I absolutely need support to be able to do what I'm being called to do. And to get the support, I have to let go of money. Like, I don't know if I have enough, and I don't know if more is going to come in. Like, just notice the places where there's fear in your system around these. Might be one specific, or it might be all of them. And, when we're playing in these fears, we're missing the opportunity of actually connecting with our soul. So we're staying in the patterns where, we can't get the wisdom that's wanting to come to us. The pathways are not available. And then the other place that I want to name is this like leaning far back, right? Like, oh, well, it's going to come to me. Like, that's also sort of a bypassy holding, because it's like you're then putting all the responsibility on money and you're not willing to show up to be in the relationship with it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And also, if we're not willing to turn towards these places and really look at the truth, then we're going to stay in these old patterns, as a collective, as a society, as an individual. You'll continue to pass them on to your kids, your clients, because when we are holding space for people, like our energy matters. And if we're in fear, there's a way that we are like transmitting that fear on some levels. I recently had an experience with healing for myself, and the healing was by donation, and but they said that I could pay them a certain amount, and like, this is what other people pay for this thing, and but it's a donation. And there was so much muddiness around it, and yet I really wanted this thing that they were offering. And it sort of like rattled, this like warrior in me. And that was actually part of what sparked this Money as a Portal, 3-day journey, because it's like there's some shit around money that needs to be looked at. If we're not being self-responsible and, how are things going to change? How are they going to change? For ourselves, but, for the bigger picture. Okay, so I'd love to just hear, I know some of you messaged in the comments, to be witnessed is so important. Yes, yes, yes. Money's part of my belly knot. Yes. There's so many places in our system where it can be entangled. If anyone else is wanting to share what's moving through for you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Money has been a worry. Yes. Yeah, and when we find ourselves worrying about something, sometimes there can be a way that it's actually distracting us from something else. And so I get curious about that. And this can be, if we find ourselves worrying about like, oh my God, what am I going to offer? What is that actually distracting you from? There was a point in my business, I guess this was around 2015, when I was so in like a worry panic mode of like needing to bring in money, not knowing what to do. And nothing was getting done. Nothing was getting done because I kept like recreating offers. I'm spinning my wheels, right? And it was actually when I started going to aerobics class and I started to do my green smoothies and go lay in the sun and actually tend to what I needed. Rather than tending to money, I tended to my own energy. And then when I did that, I got clear on what I needed to do, which ended up being hiring a coach. And then I brought in $6,000 in 6 weeks. But that was what my inner guidance was telling me to do. It wasn't something that I saw a post that someone else did this and it worked for them, because that's too where we get all this muddiness, where we're being pulled into like, oh, well, this is working for someone else and that's how they're doing it. And when we're in those patterns, we're not in ourself. Yeah, and so I invite us just to begin to drop in. And you can start by just kind of noticing what's present for you. Maybe noticing the places where your mind is doing a thing, wanting to grasp, wanting to figure out. I have judged those, so now is it wrong for me to have money? no, but those feelings are coming up. So yeah, thanks for naming that, because, you know, there are places where we've judged others, you know, and, you know, sometimes I find myself still judging too, especially when I see people making a lot of money and I also know they're not in alignment with their soul. And, you know, I think when we're judging, there's a vulnerability there that's underneath the judgment. And so I would get curious, you know, about what the vulnerability is. And, you know, there's also this vulnerability of, if we really are anchored in ourself and that's the way, you know, what I can feel is there's this vulnerability of almost like an individuality and aloneness. Which can feel really scary. So I invite us to go towards that, you know, and I think someone named this in the group too, where she felt like, you know, her boyfriend was manifesting, or her husband was manifesting more money than her. And as she got closer to that, she realized like she actually wants her relationship with money to be hers. And there can be a vulnerability to that. So I invite you to go closer. And I'm feeling this, you know, energy sort of coming through the root and sacral. You can see where it shows up for you. It might even feel a little bit like a dark hole or a black hole. Yeah, so as you get closer, just notice how it feels just to kind of be on the edge of it. Let the feelings move through your body. You can notice the places where you might feel scared or worried. You can notice the stories attached to that. And just let those parts of you know, like, thank you. Thank you for protecting me. I see you. Yeah, and then see, you know, if there's any safety you could create for yourself to go even closer to this hole, maybe even going in it. So the safety might look like hooking yourself up to like a bungee cord, or maybe creating like a magic carpet. Or it might be giving, you know, your scared parts a teddy bear, or getting an angel to sit with them. Yeah, and then see if you can allow yourself to begin to drop into the darkness, into the void. Noticing what it feels like. If you're noticing any fear, like just let it move through your system. And then see if you could find a flashlight to where you could actually turn on some light down here. Yeah, and then as you turn on the light, see what else you notice. Hmm. Hmm. What I'm noticing is there is this feeling of like it's not at all what you thought. What I'm feeling is like there's this joy, this pleasure. Also this union of sorts. And what keeps coming to me is like this void, you know, with money is, in a way, the same void of our relationship with God, our relationship with our soul. And what I also want to name here is this isn't about, you know, going charge $10,000 for a session. This is about your unique relationship with your soul and with money and what's being asked. What's wanting to move through, to flow through. And that can feel scary too, you know, because sometimes our ego wants to charge $10,000 for a session. And that's not necessarily what's important for our soul. Or sometimes we want, I'm totally making this up, but like 25 people, you know, to work with us. And our soul has a lesson for us that's actually more important than all those signups. Yeah, so see what else you notice here. And notice how, even in those things that I named, again, there's like this surrendering, that holding. That also feels really important, coming back to this place of surrender. Because when we're in the holding mode, we're not actually letting the energy flow through us or the soul wisdom flow through us. And then the other thing that's coming forward is, our soul speaks in many different ways. So sometimes it's in, this quiet space and you get clear messages. And then sometimes it's in this way of like when we're open to life and we're in the surrendered place, things show up on our path to guide us. Just like I shared yesterday about the dog joining me on my walk. Or maybe a client shows up and asks for a specific service. So it's not always in a specific way. And again, this goes back to your individual relationship with this part of you. And I invite you to just see, if there's any information or wisdom that it has to offer you right now about maybe where you are with money or your business. Or your next steps to being in relationship with it. Beautiful. Yeah, so you can slowly begin to thank your system, thank yourself. You can slowly begin to find your way back into your body, into this moment, into the space and time. Then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Beautiful work, sisters. So I'd love to hear from you, what your experience was like, what came forward for you. And also what continues to come forward over the next couple days, even week, as these transmissions and activations sink in. And for those of you who are desiring to go deeper, you know, who are ready to turn towards your soul and move through some of these old patterns and also begin to bring more of your heart and soul into your work, I would love to talk to you about how I can support you in that. I'm opening 3 spots to my Breakthrough and Up Level package, which is a 4-session package, and I'm also in the process of creating a bigger long-term program, which is going to also include some retreats, and so I'm going to begin to open applications for that. So, you know, if you're interested in deepening, let's begin the conversation so we can see what is right for you. So I love you, and yeah, it's truly been an honor. And, you know, each time I show up and share with you in this way, I always get so many pieces for myself as well. So thank you for being part of this journey and showing up and participating. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.